Okay, the second repair today at the shop. We got an Xbox One controller. And we hold power here. Hold it for a really long time. Nothing. This one does sound like something's possibly loose inside. So somebody might have dropped something. Or dropped it, stepped on it, broke it somehow. There is kids in the household. They say nothing happened to it. Mother says she doesn't know. She just got what the kids told her. Looks like in pretty good condition for being in a kid's household, but it doesn't work, so I guess not in really good condition. First thing we want to do is take the batteries, test them in my Xbox One known good controller. Take out my rechargeables here. Usually try not to test rechargeables. Test with rechargeables, I should say. And mine powers right on. Go solid. Turns on my Xbox One over there. And not a problem in the world. So batteries are good. They stay on in my controller. So one of the first things you always want to do is make sure you have good batteries. You end up testing without good batteries and, well, you could be testing for nothing. We'll put them back in one more time. Always make sure to test them correctly, which, that is weird. AC Delco makes batteries. Thought they only made car parts. We got negative. Flat side's always negative on your double A's. And we got a little nipple here. That's positive. And as you can see, it says positive. And the controller says positive. So everything is where it's supposed to be. Still no power. So this is one of those ones that's a little harder to figure out because it's not like there's just something like bumpers broke or something that you can just physically replace something on. So we got to go in with the trusty multimeter and figure out what's going on. Now Xbox Ones, actually in their systems they don't, but in their controllers they do use security bits. I believe it's either a T9 or a T10 security bit, but my key here has all of them on it, so I'm pretty sure if I remember right inside the Xbox One controllers, you will need a Phillips head 2, which I got a 2.0 of that. And then, of course, always the security seals for when you're done, so you know if anybody reopens your work or plays with anything. Okay, let's get the batteries out of the way, and let's pinpoint where all our screws are at. There's one under here. You can see it indent a little bit there. I usually don't like to poke through the sticker just because it looks ugly when you're done. So what I'm probably going to do is actually pull this label off and put it back on. And then we got these little panels that pop off. You can use a plastic or a metal spludger to get underneath them and pop them if they don't pop too easily. You got some nails, which I haven't trimmed mine in a while here. I really need to because I was working on a car earlier today and got guck underneath them. You can use the spludger or just get your nails underneath there. There's one screw right there, if you can see it on the camera, and another right there, and then the same on the other side. If I can pull that panel off. And there's that one. And as you see, there is a dot metal piece. Might be able to see it better up here. A dot in the middle of that, which is going to prevent you from getting your standard T9 or T10, whichever one that is. I think it's a T9 down in there, because it'll prevent you from just sticking anything down in there. But security bit screwdrivers do have the little hole in them, so they'll fit. Let's try out the T9. I think it looks like a T9. And it is a T9. Okay. So let's peel back this and then we'll get all the screws. Xbox One controllers, from what I've heard and my personal preference, are the most preferred controllers. They usually don't have too many issues either. PS4 controllers tend to have the R2 and L2 triggers break. The plastic's just not sturdy enough. You can't really break the triggers in an Xbox One unless you're really trying, because there's no physical parts that they're activating. There's no like push buttons. They literally use, I don't know if anyone knows what this is, but it's an inductor slash magnetic circuit, kind of. they actually pass a metal core across an inductor, which causes an inductance in the circuit, which then causes it to know you push the trigger. So no physical buttons or anything, makes it much harder to break them. But I mean, if you just rip up on them, I guess you could rip them out of the controller, but... Okay. Let's peel that sticker back like I said. I do notice a little bit of scuffing here, but it shouldn't affect the controller's ability to power on. Like I said, shake it, there's something loose in there. So let's figure out what's loose and see what maybe they possibly broke. If we can figure out something without having to use a multimeter, it's beautiful, but we might have to test around in there. And as I always say, find a container to put your screws in so you don't lose them. Now, I'm pretty sure somebody, if they watched all of my videos, is going to comment on my last repair, which was the PS4, which I took out one screw and did not put it in a container. I have a lot of spare screws, so sometimes if it's like one screw, I don't always follow my own preaching. I guess when you're the preacher, you don't have to obey. But, yeah, if you don't have spare screws, always make sure not to lose your screws. Which, I do not have any spare controller screws without going to a game shop that I pair up with for repairs and stuff at times. And I'd have to get some screws off of them because they have spare broken controllers, which I do not. Actually, no, I have one broken controller that a customer never picked up. I could probably steal some screws off of, so I guess I was wrong there. I do have some screws, which is why I have a lot of PS4 and Xbox One screws, is you get those customers that just don't pick up repairs sometimes. They just either didn't have the money or whatever. An abandoned system after a month becomes the shops for parts. Or resale if we have to recoup our cost. I usually give them more than that, though. I mean, I think I've given people up to 3 months before to pick something up, called them repeatedly. So it's not like I just, you know, take the system, but... I mean, as a shop, you gotta do what you gotta do. You can't just, do everything for free, basically. You gotta make some money somewhere. Okay, and then the first thing that's gonna come off is just this little cover plate. Doesn't really do anything, just makes the controller look pretty. Let's see. Oop, I got a little bit of goo in there. It doesn't look like anything too serious, but it might have touched the board under there. A little bit around the edges there. Somebody had some food on their hands when they were playing. And I think I just had that little plastic piece that was wiggling around fall out at me. Let's see. I'm not 100% sure which corner that piece came from. Might be one of the clips that holds something, but doesn't look like anything too important. Oh, wait. Nope, doesn't go to the bumpers. Okay. Well, let's take and flip it over and look at the back side here. This is the part that's hard to pull out. You basically got to get it to unhook off these in the bottom, which you just kind of bend under it with your finger and then pull upwards, and this whole back piece will come out. First, we might as well just double check some continuity from here to here, because it does have to make the circuit go all the way around to connect both batteries together. So we'll take and turn to continuity on here. Pull off our probes, which usually I deal with a lot smaller circuits, so I got really sharp ones on here, so I'll have to be careful not to stab myself with them. Not that I, sometimes I'm always careful and stab myself, so. This little bridge here is fine, which I doubt they would have broke anyways. Oh, looks like there's a little bit of corrosion on one of the contacts there. A little bit possibly down in there. Ooh, we got a definite corroded part there. me see if I can magnify in with the camera and show you what I'm talking about and see it a little bit better myself. Sorry about the camera work here. Alright, I think that's the maximum digital zoom on this. Okay, let's see here. See if I can get it steady enough and get a good view of the corrosion. Let me double check which component I was looking at there. I think I lost where I was looking. Okay, so right up in that area there. Let's see here. None of the components look too bad, like they should be stopping us from getting power. Might almost have to take apart another known good controller to start testing against. I only have specialty controllers though, so that might be a slight issue. We do have little bits of food and stuff down in here. Like I said, nothing too serious. Get a little bit brighter light here. Got a flashlight in here somewhere that I can use to brighten things up a little bit here. See if I can see where I've seen that look like corrosion. Okay, looks like that component right there possibly. Let me get it up under the microscope, well, magnified in camera here. I do have a microscope I may have to pull out. It hooks up to the computer, but I don't have that hooked up to put on YouTube, so if I have to do that, I'm gonna not be able to show you guys. Finding it with my eyes and finding it on the camera are two different things. Let's see here. Right at the tip of my nail there is where I think I'm seeing some corrosion. Let's see. Component looks relatively corroded. Can't really make it out too well on the camera. Definitely need to get a microscope camera to hook up to YouTube and for my own viewing pleasure. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go old school. These are cheapos from eBay. They are magnified. Oh, let me unmagnify the camera here for you guys. Sorry about that. Okay. Turn off the multimeter for a second. They're just a cheap pair of magnifying lenses. They work pretty good though. You got to put the stuff really close to your face though to be able to see it, but let me pull away from the camera here for a second and see how bad that corrosion looks. And then we'll clean it up and I'll show you how to do that and see if we got power back to the controller. Okay. It does look like there's a little bit of corrosion on there, but might just be taking just enough power not to be able to start up, maybe? Okay. Other thing I'm seeing is possibly maybe they knocked one of these posts here a little loose and they dropped it. Let's see here. Let's see if the power or continuity from... Sorry guys, bumping the camera mount. Okay. Make sure we got continuity. Okay, let's poke around from here. inside the controller here to see if we got kind of continuity away from the... We should have continuity from itself to itself. And we should have it up to one of these, I believe. Let's take a look here. I haven't come up with alternate points yet for Xbox One controllers. Haven't had too many in that have this issue. Okay, so it looks like it comes off of here, goes down, and goes to the sides of these capacitors here. So it looks like it's running from here into here, so we're getting power there. Let's check our other side here and see if we're getting power down into the controller. Looks like we are. Let's see here. This is a transistor. Sometimes the MOSFET transistors can get fried. Doesn't look like it's fried. I mean, usually they're a little crispy if they're fried. But, like I said, I might have to find some alternate points and come back to this one. Let me clean it up a little bit here. Grab my cleaning tools here. First, we're going to just give it a light cleaning. We're going to go in with a little bit of rubbing alcohol. Just see if we can get a little bit of power going. Might just be something in there's shorting it out. Usually food is not meant to enter a controller. Which, I'm not getting a super dirty Q-tip in here. I mean, it's got some dirt on it, but nothing too major. But it'll make sure that, like I said, we're not getting any shorts in here. Just a little drop of some kind of sticky substance conducting electricity where it shouldn't be and won't allow the controller to power on. I think I'm cleaning color off the board, or that is some kind of blue Kool-Aid. Okay, if this doesn't work, what I'm going to do is go grab my cleaning pen, but I can't think what it is. It's graphite cleaning pen, and the graphite will scrape over all the components and remove that extra corrosion that's on there. See if we can get up and running that way. I'm also going to check under this real quick. Pull this out of here. This is where it looks like it's got quite a bit of stickiness. But you can usually just pop it past the metal prongs without hopefully breaking them or anything. Where'd my pry tool go? Well, I said you could use it on the plastic, but it also works under here. To pop that up out of the way. Yeah, like I said, there's quite a bit of sticky stuff on this. But I mean, there's a plastic shield in here that's supposed to protect it because, of course, it's one of the weak areas where liquid can enter the system. Well, system being a controller, but... yeah, we got a little bit of stuff down in there. Still not seeing anything that should cause the controller not to power on at all, or at least not any obvious evidence, which is unusual. Usually it's immediately evident, actually. Let's pull this off and see if there's anything that's going on with the button itself, maybe. You never know, they could have got something underneath the button and it's just not making contact. Which I don't think I've ever had to really take off one of these buttons. So this is a first for me. Let's see if I can get something small down in there and pop the button up. Usually I don't see too many problems with Xbox One controllers, so normally I don't have to take them apart this far. Okay, we got some plastic casing here. Obviously, like I said, I don't have too many spare parts for these things. I have a special edition X1 controller that I use for parts, but it won't have the same plastic pieces. So this is a different generation controller. Oh, I see the problem here. Got a couple more screws here that are holding that one in. Grab my key here. Those are much smaller and they're not security bits, so you can go to the back side here. Probably like a T7 or T6 maybe. Not the T7, so probably T6. Might go all the way down to a T5. Probably T5, being that 6 is like a weird in-between number that not everything uses. But leave it to... Nope, it's a 6. I decided to use the not used one. Okay. Keep this one up a little bit so I know it's used for putting it back together. You just don't want to scrape the controller with the one you're not using while you're trying to disassemble it. But yeah, you trace down, make sure you're getting power into the system or continuity from where the contacts are. It's very hard to troubleshoot the actual circuit itself because you're not sure what all those components are doing. I mean, I know capacitors, resistors, all that stuff, but it's like getting into someone else's head trying to figure out what exactly they were working on. Let's throw that little button in there before we go losing it. Already got the screw fell down inside, but got that back out. But yeah, the designers know exactly what they were trying to do. Like, oh hey, this isn't doing this. Let's put this capacitor here to equal out the voltage flow or whatever. And it's like trying to read back through someone else's programming code, which is the other thing I'm working on today. If you ever need a special made Windows program, send me a message. I work on those too. Accessing databases with programming code, all that good stuff. But yeah, if you ever look at someone's programming code, your eyes will go a little cross because you don't have a clue what they were doing. Hopefully they put some notes in so you can, you know, figure it out. But obviously on the circuit board there's not going to be any notes. There are some people that know electronics really well and they can trace back through them. If I'm lucky enough, sometimes I'll find something online if I can't solve this and somebody diagnosed the board a little more than I can and gives me a little bit of more knowledge on it. Okay, we got those two screws out. And that again is a T6 screwdriver. Now let's see if we can pop this board up and out of the way. Which everything is linked into this board, so it might still be a pain. Just need to get enough to look underneath that button and see if there's anything stuck to the pad or when itself isn't working for some reason. This thing is still not want to give for me. I don't want to crack the motherboard. Oh. Where else they got this thing clipped? Oh, we may have to remove... Oh, I don't want to really have to remove that whole... Oh, there's another screw hiding down here. Like I said, I've never had to take the whole motherboard apart. This is not going to be a pretty one. Especially if I have to take this bottom board off from the top board. Definitely not a separation I'm looking forward to doing. Might just be able to get it lifted up enough to move that rubber piece, which I think actually fell back down inside further. Might have just been all it did is shifted somehow, which asks me how the heck you shift a rubber piece underneath the button, but hopefully I only shifted it and it just needs to be put back up in place. But like I said, we still have the graphite pen to go to if this doesn't do anything. Depends if we find anything underneath this button, like sticky or liquidy. You think if something got underneath there and actually trigger the controller to come on its own, not coming on at all. Okay. looks like they're going to force me to do what I don't want to do, and that's to take the board completely apart from the other one. You see, quoted less than 2 hours on this, which it's probably going to be less than 2 hours, but it's going to be very close. When it comes to reassembling everything, gotta be very careful not to pinch any of the wires and make sure everything's back in perfect place. Which I'm probably not gonna put on YouTube because obviously, who wants to watch me put something back together in very delicate detail when all you gotta do is reverse the same. But once the level of difficulty passes this point, most people are probably not gonna do the repair. So. Or they're just going to destroy the thing worse, which I'm hoping I won't do here. That's the first time I've actually had to take all the circuit boards off an Xbox One controller. Usually don't do too bad even first times. You just go slow and steady wins the race, as the, what the turtle says. Oh. But remember what I was saying about the triggers? There's the little iron core that passes across the inductor, like I was saying. No actual push buttons in there. It's a very interesting setup. It's the same way actually that your car gets detected by the light at a stop sign sometimes. Or not a stop sign, but a stoplight. Makes it so that it can tell that a car is at the crossroad and only change the light when the cars are there. So you don't have to stop main traffic unless you really need to. Ooh. Okay, let's pull these off before we go dragging them down where we don't need them. Okay, which was the joysticks here. I pulled both of them off to be able to pull it through easier. And this whole board flips down this way away from everything. You still got these attached, so you got wires in your way and these wires that run up front here. So you want to be very careful pulling it up. And like I thought, there is another couple screws under here. There's another one here. And there's some more down here that I can't even show you that well on camera. Oh, they definitely got quite a few screws in where you don't want to see them. And actually the whole mech for this inductor type thing is actually ran. That's what these side wires are actually running up to. They run around here and then up to these triggers. And I don't see any way to feed these back through here. I mean, you could push these up in. And a nice little trick, they're not falling out and getting in your way, so maybe you can get the board back far enough. It's probably going to be, I'm going to take rubber bands, and we're going to rubber band them into place for now. Not the perfect holding up in there. Put another one up in, and we'll rubber band that one in place also. That way, they're not getting in our way. And this is one of the things I'm good at, and that is problem solving. Had a problem, these keep dropping, you can't get the board to come up. Try to figure out what you can do to get around it. Okay, now I got the board up out of there, just kind of floating in the middle there. But now we can get down to these other two screws in here, and this screw here is relatively exposed. And we'll see if anything's going on the back side of the board there. It's a little harder to remove the screws when you're in a little bit tighter corridor here. Actually, I'll check something before I go too much further. I wonder if this charge port here is actually getting some kind of charge. I don't have, well actually I do have an outlet right there. Grab out a charge port. I'm going to see if I can charge it by that port. See if we're getting power at least there. And then we kind of maybe can narrow things down some. Okay. Let's see here. Just your standard cell phone charger should be able to get some power to that. And it's a standard micro USB. Careful to make sure nothing's touching where it shouldn't be. Hold it up out of there. Plug into that port. Still nothing. Let's see if... Oops, sorry guys, bumping the camera again. See if without the batteries, if my controller will power up with that port. I think you get a little bit of power for a few seconds usually. Yeah. Can actually use, I think it's a wired controller that way. No batteries, and that should still be able to power it on. So we are getting no power at all at the top, which definitely means that button may be an issue. If that button's not an issue, like I said, we can go in with a graphite and clean it some and stuff and see where we can go from there. Controller back up there. But yeah, we're getting nothing anywhere on this thing. Okay, let's finish getting these screws out of my way. Slow moving here because of the room to work with these screws, so bear with me. Actually, since they're not security bits, grab out my smaller gauge non-security bit torque set. And that was a T6, yep, T6. This should actually go faster this way. Then we can just spin them with our fingers and pull screws much faster in a much smaller area.